murder. Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on the next Mental Health Matters with Marty show, the importance of self-care. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Yes, it's me. I am back. It's Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist. And why do we say mental health hygienist? Because just like you wash your body every day, we need to cleanse and renew our mind. How do we do that? By stopping the stinking thinking. And I'm so glad that you are joining me for another edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. Yes, I'm still coming to you live in the beautiful state of California, where the sun is always shining. I am so excited about today's episode, y'all. We got some exciting things happening. July, I was about to say November. I don't know why November. July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And I hate the word minority because I am not the minority. I make up the majority. But because we're we're going to put it in those terms. But July is Minority Mental Health Awareness. And we want you to be aware of those things that do affect our communities of color, such as depression, such as many other things that come alongside that. Hello, Auntie and family. Yes, glad that you are there. Listen, like and share. Tell the other family I said jump on board and everything. So listen, as we always say here on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, this show is intended for educational and psychoeducational purposes only. We are not a substitute. Let me say that again. We are not a substitute for your mental health journey, but we are a supplement. So if you're experiencing any type of medical or psychiatric emergency, please go to your nearest urgent care or contact your therapist or life coach ASAP. But since you're here, listen, like and share. How do we engage? We engage in this. If you want to engage so that your posts are being seen, I'm going to encourage you to drop by and stop and check out the Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook page or Marcel Media Group on YouTube. Again, that's Mental Health Matters with Marty. I'm tongue-tied, y'all. Mental Health Matters with Marty on the Facebook page and Marcel Media Group on YouTube. You can get and like and share this and get people out there to join in on the conversation. So what is our topic today? Our topic today is this: because I matter. Last week I had on an I Matter t-shirt. Because I matter, the importance of self-care. As I said earlier, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And there has been so many things for the past year and a half. People of color, Black men, have been going through so much. And I want to say this. Hey, fam, are you okay? What's going on? Shout out to my boy, Dr. Taylor out there who's got this going on. Trey is doing it out there. And that's where he says, are you all right? And we want to make sure you are doing all right. So what do I mean by that? We want to make sure that you take care of yourself, that you are doing those things that are necessary to your mental health and well-being. What does that look like? It looks like breaking the cycle, the toxicity that is we are often compounded with on a daily basis. Yeah, yay for talking about self-care. Thank you, Alana. Self-care is so vitally important. We run this rat race called life. We're off to work. We're off to doing this. We're off to doing that. And oftentimes the thing we neglect most is taking care of ourselves. And as a result of us not taking care of ourselves and feeling the weight of being worn down, feeling the weight of being tired, feeling the weight of being exhausted, we often substitute that by self-medicating. We self-medicate through drugs. We self-medicate through alcohol. We self-medicate through sex. We self-medicate through food. We self-medicate through so many negative behaviors that later comes out in results that we are no longer can recognize ourselves. But I'm so glad that we have some help here on tonight that's going to be joining me. I am so excited to welcome for the very first time, but not the last time, my dear friend and colleague, Mr. A.D. Burks. Definitely. A.D., what's going on, brother?
Man, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. As I say, glad to see you've made it through the pandemic because so many haven't.
Likewise.
And we are truly blessed.
We are, because this time last year, I had COVID. So,
wow.
Yeah, this time last year, I was laying on the floor like, God, I know this is not the end of me. And so it was really, it was a psychological thing.
Right.
So yes, I'm with you. I'm grateful that a year later, I'm in a much better place than where I was. So man, listen, you are a writer. You are a speaker. You have your own business. You're a life coach. You're just all that. Tell the people who you are and all the amazing and exciting things that you do.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm A.D. Burks, the AHA architect, creating AHA moments and plans to get you unstuck. And so I went through that sort of branding of the AHA architect because I thought about what gift have I been given that I want to give to the world, or rather what God has ordained me to do. And it's basically, I've been given all this knowledge and I've been so blessed to be in environments, different educations. I've had some of the best education, chemistry undergrad, Rice MBA, and experiences in different countries and things. And I realized it's really not about me that God gave me those experiences. It's more for me to be able to have those experiences and facilitate what is the lesson in those experiences that I can give to others who may not be able to go and travel, who may not be able to have the ability to go through coaching, who may not have been able to have the finances and wherewithal to get a therapist, who didn't have a mother counselor, so all of those experiences culminated to me being able to create aha moments for people, because the reality is only 10% of what we are aware of, and the other 90%, which is subconscious. So understanding the dynamic of what we're consciously aware of versus the 90% we're subconsciously aware of. A lot of people are stuck in habits, addictions. A lot of that, and where the AHA architect comes in and saying, okay, let's look at what your situation is and why you keep circling. You keep circling because you're unaware of these things. And some of them, once I always go back to, it's exposure. If you haven't been exposed to another way of thinking, another way of observing, another way of
just
experiencing life.
Yes.
Because
I agree with you.
Accustomed. We get accustomed.
That's why I say I said we got to stop the stinking thinking. How do we do that? We have to change our environment. Real quick, I got to shout out. Hello, darling, Miss Portia Scott of Portia Scott Media. Come on, how you doing? That's why we got to speak up, speak out, and live. That's my girl from down in Atlanta. Listen, Atlanta, Georgia. That's my girl, and I love her to death. And she's the one that gave me my start in this whole podcasting world and everything. So listen, I love that you said you saw a lot of bit right on that says the AHA architect. and having aha moments in life. I love that. When
But then
we
we got
were
to go a
talking
step
last week.
further.
Okay,
We got
go
to
ahead.
not just have the aha moment, but actual a plan. Because
That
what an aha moment. I had an epiphany that, okay, what I was doing wasn't working. Well, that's
right.
great. But
what
what
you
are
gonna
you
do
going to
about
do
it?
moving forward? And that's
Come
what
on.
happens oftentimes is we have epiphanies, we have aha moments, but we don't have a plan for implementation. And then without a plan, what it's going to do, revert back to the same behavior patterns, which got you to where you are now.
Yes, that is so good, because I'm with you. Too many of us have these aha moments, but they're just that, a moment, and we move past it and we do nothing to change and make that moment a reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So what's one of the secrets that you say, because we're talking about, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness. How do we
Yes.
now take this aha moment, this epiphany? How do we take this idea, this thought, this nudging, this inkling, this, you see where I'm going with that? And how do we now make this a reality? Because, as they say, when the rubber meets the road, a lot of us, the rubber ain't never met the road.
Right. Well, it always goes back to, once again, what we're unconscious of. So when we think about us being unconscious, for us to become conscious, we have to have insight, and our behavior has to be disrupted. So it's going to sort of take another person to give you that insight. Now, the problem is we often get that insight from people who really aren't qualified to give. Everybody can't speak into it. Everybody's got an opinion, but just because your opinion doesn't mean it's factually based and it's not researched.
Yes. Come on, John Henry Scott. Come on. He says, problems need a plan. Opportunities need a strategy. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on. You're absolutely right. Problems do need a plan. And that's what we fail to do. We fail to plan out the problems and then walk in the opportunities, walk in the strategy of the opportunity. And most of us get stuck right there. And I say it this way, AD, a lot of times we get stuck in taking advice from people who are no further along than we are. In fact, we're taking advice from people who are stuck. I asked someone today, just in session today, I said, what are you afraid of, and why are you always downselling yourself? Why are you downplaying and accepting mediocrity when you should be experiencing greatness? Why do people have a problem with that? Why do we struggle with that?
Because it goes back to exposure and experiences. If I've never been exposed to greatness, how do I know it can happen? And you being a psychologist, the first 5 years, that's your hardwired.
So important. Yes.
And so if you experience trauma those first 5 years and you consider that to be normal and healthy, well, then that's why you are stuck. You grew up in an environment where money management wasn't a thing. We're paying Peter to pay Paul. So now you get into a situation where you actually have a surplus. Well, what do you go do? You go spend it versus actually,
you blow it.
As the person just talked about strategy, setting it up where you don't have to keep working for your money, where your money's working for you.
Come on. There's a book I love, Jim Collins. Thank you. Good to Great. Love that book, because he says too often in our own personal lives, we settle for good, therefore never reaching great.
Yeah. You have to give up good to get to great. Come
on. He says good is the enemy of great. That just struck me so, and I know that's what you're saying. An aha moment. It's like, I'm going to stop settling for good because I'm great. I'm going to stop settling for being broke because I'm rich. I'm going to stop settling for being broken. Can I say it that way? Because I am going to now do this thing called self-care to ensure that I am whole. Come on. Y'all need to retweet that.
In toxic relationships.
Ooh, yes.
Because I know healthy is out there.
Right. Okay, let's talk about relationships, because you have this amazing, and talk to me about your relationship matrix, your relation. That's it, your relationship fit. Talk to me about that, and how did you develop that?
Okay, so I'm an only child. My parents got divorced when I was 4, and a family was definitely what I wanted. And I'd been in some great relationships, and then I'd been in some horrific relationships. And there's a book called Getting the Love You Want by Dr. Harville Hendricks and his wife. And the premise is we are attracted to those who have both the positive and negative characteristics of our caregivers. Once again, old Brian.
Right.
And so their premise is if you get with a mate and y'all go through your trauma together, then you can heal. That's a good philosophy. However, whenever you get with a narcissist, you can't do it because the narcissist will never be able to take criticism and actually do the work to heal because they always look internally. They never will take information outside. So that's when I started looking at, okay, what is it that would then constitute getting into a healthy relationship? And that's sort of when I came up with relationship fit. So relationship fit goes to 14 different characteristics needed to be in a healthy relationship. Vulnerability, compromise, reconciliation, and so by going through those 14 parameters, oneness, wholeness, commitment, trust, once you healed and become fit, then you'll be able to recognize fit. As they say, I'm a chemist, likes dissolve likes. So when you're in a healthy state, you're able to attract a healthy state and push away the toxic.
But most of us, it's hard to recognize healthy when you've never experienced healthy.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of relationship fit, for us to actually dissect what does healthy look like. And so, because a lot of people think, oh, well, he doesn't cheat on me, so that's healthy. Mental abuse, that's unhealthy. Yeah. But I don't know that that's unhealthy if I grew up in an environment where mental abuse, verbal abuse was the norm.
Toxicity is all around you. And so we tend to normalize toxicity. We tend to normalize trauma. We tend to normalize, and trauma bonding is real. Trauma bonding is real, and it's also extremely toxic. That's why you have a lot in the AAs and NAs and all this trauma bonding. And so the only thing we're doing is finding new ways of doing and better ways of continuing our negative behaviors if we're not careful and if we're not intentional about turning our back on the issues that we're going through and making sure that we're intentional about growing, intentional about healing, intentional about moving forward, intentional about having that aha moment and moving from stuck to actually not being stuck at all. But
you know what really keeps us stuck is that thing called the television.
Oh,
because it perpetuates toxic relationships. That whole frenemies. I mean, come on.
Toxicity sells.
And do you know why, though?
Talk to us. Why?
If I can see somebody else in a worse situation than I'm in,
yes,
then I can feel a little bit better about myself.
Yes.
Versus so actually doing the work to better myself.
Right. And that goes back to our topic today, because I matter. The importance of doing self-care. So if I'm looking at you and saying, well, AD is doing worse than I am, so I have to feel good about at least I'm not as bad as him. At least I'm not as bad as her. But in that, we're not dealing with ourselves. The question does become, do you matter? Right. In that. So how do you, when you have a client, because you have so many wonderful things that you do with helping people out of their toxicity, helping people find their way to do better self-care. Definitely, getting unstuck in this. I want to address one of your books that you've written. And it's the one that I picked up of yours that I think I had texted you, emailed you or something, said, man, this book is on fire. And I just loved it. You talked about the 4 steps. Now you're renaming it the 4 steps. And so give us the official title of that.
So the book which you read, the 4 steps, a practical guide to breaking the addictive cycle. And so I used to be a sex addict. And through the process of ending my addiction, I
Mm-hmm.
created 4 steps.
Mm-hmm.
All addictions are based in pain. And if we can get to
Right.
the root cause of the pain, you can then get rid of the need for using substance or behavior to escape it.
Right.
So how I define the term addiction
Ooh.
as a lay term is any substance or behavior one utilizes to escape pain. So people don't like the term addiction. So for some of the people that say, "Oh, that's not me," let's just say your bad habit. And the reason I give an
Uh-huh.
example of
Uh-huh.
the term bad habit, I was working with a client and we were going through. He's like, I'm just not motivated, da da da. And so I'm saying, okay, what are some of the bad habits you have? And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, watch a little porn, da da da. And if I hadn't asked the term what bad habits you had, I really would have never known that he was actually a sex addict.
Because we always think of addictions, if I can, not to cut you off, as strictly being drugs and alcohol. We rarely talk about addictions to pornography. We rarely talk about addictions to food. We don't talk about addictions to sex. We don't. Can I go here? We don't even talk about addictions to being in love with someone else, or this whole. Because I know several men that I have in sessions that they love and I say it this way, the chase. But as soon as they conquered, they're ready to move on. And see, there is something that is not been fulfilled and that's empty within themselves. Again, the importance of self-care. Why? Because I matter. Talk to us some more about that. I love that.
Yeah. So, it goes back to understanding that trauma. And our society is always running away from dealing with the real.
Ooh,
and to
that's
deal
good.
with the real, you have to go deep. Now, whatever your religious belief is irrelevant, but your spirituality, everybody has a spirit. And being able to understand and how, especially in African American culture, we're the only group where our entire culture is based on Christianity. When they took us from Africa, stripped our culture and everything away, the only thing they left us with was what? The Bible. So our whole culture is wrapped around that. But then the problem is they see all the hypocrisy going on in the church. So then how do you just reconcile, this is who I am, but my culture really doesn't accept me for being gay, for me being not the norm, for me not doing what they define is socially acceptable. So that's why you always go back to step 1 is reestablish your own relationship with God.
Okay, I love that. So what we're talking about now for those so now we're talking about the 4 steps. Step 1, and I love it. You clearly define reestablishing or even establishing, if you have not established one, your relationship with God. In other words, getting your spiritual self centered with that. Why was that so important in your own? And thank you for your being so candid about sharing that I had an addiction. It was not drugs, it was not alcohol. My addiction, and I wish more people on here would say that was me too, was addiction to sex, because of what it does. It brings those wonderful endorphins. Come on, if we want to really be, it signals and triggers the brain so that we feel that sense of happiness.
The dopamine is being released. Because I want to escape the pain of the reality I'm sitting in. And so my reality sitting in was basically having to reconcile sexuality. Being the grandson of a Baptist minister, homosexuality is going to hell. I also had to reconcile, trying to people please my mom. She had sacrificed so much for me. I felt I needed to make sure I maintained heterosexual relationships and things, yet I was in pain because that wasn't my true, authentic spirit. And so to reconcile that, I had to form my own relationship with God to see, I am made perfect as I am. And I don't need all these outside people telling me what God is telling me. So that's that first thing. Once you can clear out all the noise, because there's so much noise coming into you, and even well-intentioned people, I have no doubt that all my family members who were saying, well, we don't want you to go down that path. We don't want you to catch AIDS. Thankfully, I don't have AIDS, but so many people do, and they're still doing fine. So, the key is understanding all another person's issues. Don't allow them to project them onto you. And the best way to do that is to know thyself, and knowing thyself understand is basically built in knowing thy spirituality.
That's good. Knowing who you are and whose you are in that regard. So that is definitely defining that. That we got an amen in the amen corner. Come on, that's right,
Thank you.
Sister Lowry.
Thank you.
Yes, he said amen. Come on. But as we do that, and as we become, how did you get to the point? Because in reestablishing yourself, I say it this way. Give you my free title of one of the books that I'm definitely loving this transparency. Alana, aren't you?
Thank you,
One of
Alana.
the books that I want, and she's an amazing therapist as well, is talking about is how to be, and I'm going to say it this way, how to be internally, spiritually, emotionally naked and not ashamed. And so we often attribute nakedness as a sexual act. But when you're saying nakedness in this context, I'm talking about revealing who you truly are, being able to stand in the mirror and say, I am Marty and I love all of me, flaws and all, because we all have some flaws. We all have, no one here is perfect. No one here is so righteous that they can just put themselves in heaven or hell. Listen, you got to be there and say, listen, this is me. And I love me for the flaws. I love me for my big nose. I love me for this gray hair. I love me for my bald head. Whatever that might be. For not having all the education that I thought. Whatever. I love me for who I am right here and now. How do we get to? How did you get to that point?
I'm gonna do a shift on that, because the things that you said, I wouldn't consider those flaws.
But how many people do view those as flaws?
Well, once again, once you are centered in yourself, you realize that's not flaws.
Right.
That's my perfection.
That's it.
And not to be in terms of the perfection of Christ, where we has a different level.
I'm right there
in
with
terms
you.
of I am perfectly made just as I am. And the reason why I'm in hell is because I have not accepted self.
Because I don't believe that I matter. Yes. This is such a great decision. Paula, how are you, my dark friend? Listen, Paula gets on here. She's my number one follower.
Hey,
all
Paula.
the other people are gonna be jealous of that. But she's got a number one follower sticker on when she comes to me. So everyone needs a Paula in their life. So let me tell you something. So Paula, follow my dear friend A.D. Burks there. He's got a beautiful book and he's so transparent. And I appreciate that because you are helping so many people. And that's what I loved when I read your book. The transparency of it, because it forced me to deal with my relationship with God. It forced me to examine. I was on vacation, I believe it was, and I was just going, and I was sitting in the hotel room reading this. I could not put the book down. And I was using it to also, I'm not an addiction specialist. It's definitely not my forte, but it was when I had some clients, I was telling them, you got to get this book. You got to get this book, because it was simple. It wasn't 12 steps. It was 4.
Yeah.
It was, I can remember 4. I might struggle with 12, but I can remember 4. So step 1 was reestablishing your relationship with God. You then talk about step 2. Talk to me about step 2.
So step 2 is abstinence. Another word people hate to hear. So
that's a cuss word.
Oh yeah. Wait, especially for a sex addict. You talking about abstinence? Are you kidding me? But to reframe it, let's say abstain from what you use to escape pain.
That's good. Say that one more time.
Abstain from what you use to escape pain. So whether it's drugs, sex, TV, alcohol, work, as you mentioned earlier, love addictions and all those things.
Yes.
Whatever it is you're using to not deal with yourself and deal with your reality, we need to abstain from that.
Yes. I love this. I do not have any flaws. It's just the perception of what people think they are. See, come on, talk to me, right? And we have, I love that. Yes, we have to stop allowing other people's projections on us to determine our outcomes.
Right. I say, do you come in and be changed, or you come in and do the changing?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Talk, because a lot of people don't understand about being the change. I say it this way, even being the change agent for yourself.
Absolutely. Woo. Because it all
Yes.
starts with self. If you can't change yourself, how are you going to change somebody else?
Come
Because the
on.
reality is you never can change somebody else.
Can I say it this way?
They have to make the decision.
Thank you. You said what I was going to say. They have to make the decision, and the only person you are responsible for changing come on, self. Why? Because I matter. Why? Because I value the importance of self-care, and self-care is elevating myself to the next level. AD, I always say it this way, especially those of us in Christendom. We have misused and wrongly labeled self-care because we think self-care is being selfish.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. So I have several clients, as you said, people that are in Christianity growing up, and it's like, oh, I can't take care of myself because that's being selfish. No, let's go back to Christ. What did he do? He separated himself from everyone else.
Come on. You better talk about holiness.
To reconnect to God.
Right.
So what it is it's now people have allowed that to be their excuse. So, I'm so pious and I'm doing all these things for others, but not taking care of myself. But since I'm taking care of others, I don't have to take the time to fix me.
So I'm gonna run with what I'm gonna run with what you said. Taking time to set yourself apart. Come on. Set yourself apart for that. Listen, how do we get there to fully loving as well as accepting ourselves from years of embedded trauma, stigmas, and various religious orthodoxy that are negatively pressed upon some of us? I'm going to let you do it. Jonathan, I appreciate you, and thank you for always being such a loyal follower of us and tuning in with such great questions. Go ahead, AD. How do we do that? Because that's an excellent question.
Step one. And Jonathan, the step one questions and the step one text is on my website, the 4 Steps guide. Well, I'll give you that. Because that goes back to, I've been given this gift for others. As I say, your gift is for you, your purpose is for others. Part of my purpose is to answer that exact thing. And when you go through the questions that are under step one, that's how you reconcile that. Because you're exactly right. That trauma that's been embedded. And the problem is we have to disrupt the pattern. The pattern is we're used to operating in a traumatic state. So for that to change, we have to disrupt it. And the only way to disrupt it is to then position you in a point where you can say, okay, this doesn't have to be my norm. Why is it that this is my norm? Is it because of what I've been told? Is it what I actually been told, what I believe? So we have to go deeper. Unfortunately, as I say, it's not a one type of answer to that question. It's a collective of answers that we have to go step by step. And that's sort of what I do when I work with my clients. We go through that process because this isn't a one-time thing. Everybody wants a quick fix, and there is none. Because I've had 40 years of trauma that I've associated as norm.
That's good.
And then you want me to go fix it in one session.
It's not going to happen. So, Jonathan, I'm going to also say, give yourself grace and tackle one problem, one challenge, one trauma at a time.
Yeah.
We can't, because we get so overwhelmed by trying to tackle this A, B, C, D. You can't. You tackle one thing at a time. It takes. I forget what they say about you're sailing in one direction and you're trying now to make a 180, not a 360. That's where we get it wrong. 360, you're going to end up right back in the same direction. We're trying to do it at 180. To turn a ship, it takes almost a full day to turn it around and go and change it so they can go in the opposite direction. So Jonathan, identifying what the trauma, and I love that, embedded traumas. Also knowing, one of the first questions, and I don't, you probably ask the same question when someone sits down on my couch. I'll ask, "Who are you?" And then I'll shut up. I don't say anything. What do you mean? Who are you?
Who are you?
Yes, and so many of us don't know who we are.
I'm so glad.
And so, yeah, because we have not taken the time to reflect. I love that. Reestablish your relationship with God, and abstinence. In other words, not doing those things that continues to perpetuate the trauma or the pain in our lives. We can only recognize who we are unless we take some time to understand who we are and whose we are. And in doing that, I got to understand, what's my purpose? What's my calling? What have been the things and people and places and situations that has caused me trauma? Come on. And have I been the source of my trauma? Woo!
Accountability. People do not like that word. They do not like that word.
Mm-mm.
But once
so Jonathan,
you
I hope this is helping. Give me a thumbs up or something. But it's a slow process. And if we have years of trauma, years of embedded trauma, I'm going to just reiterate what you said. It is not going to happen overnight. But listen, we have to learn. My executive coach, shout out to Chart to Heart. Come on, Chart to Heart, who says, listen, we have to learn to celebrate the small steps in life.
It is. And that's what keeps the momentum going. The problem is you see a flood of issues. You're not realizing as you keep celebrating each one being reconciled, it builds the momentum to you say, wow, I am getting better. Wow, I do feel lighter. Oh, all those people that were bringing me down, I decided, I don't need that in my life.
Yes.
And as they say, they talk about God redeems the time. It may seem like a lot, but once you get on that process, the next thing you know, you're like, wow, look at where I am. I'm so far from where I used to be.
Right. And then you have, I'm going to steal your term, that aha moment. That's right. Manifested moments is what it is called. That's right. Those manifested moments that we get to celebrate those moments. And then that gives us the momentum of moving forward in what we're doing, so that you have the strength, the ability, and the momentum to push you forward and to accelerate. Now that's when the acceleration happens. Come on.
Exactly.
As you manifest it, then you go from manifestation to acceleration. Come on, I'm talking good, and ain't nobody saying amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Come on, preach.
So we have see you, PK, you understand in all this. We have the I got my notes here. That's what we're looking. The reestablishing your relationship. We have the abstinence or abstaining. Now the third thing you said, we have to do what?
Ooh, now as you can see, it's a culmination. So it starts self and just understanding how I connect to God.
Okay.
Then we go from that connection. Now that's helped me realize, okay, I need to start abstaining from behaviors and things that are trigger me. So the third is change your environment, walk away from your triggers.
Woo! See that now you're making me do some more work.
Yeah, because the thing about it is it's just like that aha moment. If you don't have that plan in place, you're gonna go back to that same behavior. So it's that step 3 of changing your environment and walking away from your triggers. You realize, what's triggering me?
Yes.
Is it my job? Is it my spouse? Is it my family member? Is it my friends? Is it that TV show that I watch? What's triggering you?
Yeah, I don't want folks to come in here and blame us up. Well, you said walk away from my spouse. Now, what we're saying now, go get some help. Now, do what you got to do.
What do we say? The trauma that we lived in the past, we keep replicating it until we reconcile. So it could be your spouse. It might not be. Hopefully it's not. But if it is,
we got to come to some sort of we got to come to some sort of abstinence in that mug. But anyway.
So having the understanding of changing that environment and walking away from those triggers, that's then going to set you up for success.
Yes, and walking, and I love it. Walking, you talked about that earlier when the absence. I think this is another extension of that. Walking away from those triggers, walking away from those bad habits, walking away from those negative cycles that we continue to, walking away from normalizing my trauma.
Yeah,
All,
definitely.
all of those things, and that is one of the hardest things we have to do, because some of us love living in the pig pen and don't want to leave it.
Well, and then our society does not support discipline, which goes to step 4,
Okay, go on and talk to us about step 4.
creating a proper support network.
Mm,
Everybody that is your friend, everybody that's in your family is not technically part of what I define as a proper support network.
okay.
Now, if you have an uncle who's misogynistic, he's still going to
Hmm.
come to all the family gatherings. But is he the person that you go to when you having issues in your relationship?
That's good. That's good.
That's not an individual who's a support person.
Hmm.
You may have an individual who's a good friend of yours. Y'all been friends for years, has supported you when you had some bad moments,
Hmm.
but they are not the person you would want to go to when you need financial advice because they spend all their money.
Right. And that's so good. Identifying, I think, in getting your support system, you have to identify your need and identify who can meet that need. As if I'm trying to be a millionaire, I don't want to hang out with someone who's bankrupt. Come on, come on.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
No,
no,
in that regards, or has problems paying their bills on time. If
right.
I'm trying to grow a business, I need to hang out with other business people. If I'm trying to have a right relationship, I need to hang out with people whose relationships at least appear to be on intact until I can get some further detail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If I want to go to school, I can't hang out with people who have not gone to school.
right.
If I'm trying to find a job, I got to hang out with people who have jobs. Come on.
And so what I do in the book is sort of define the characteristics of people who would be in a proper support network. Because
Okay. Okay.
you don't have to technically, and this is the thing that happens oftentimes in those 12-step programs,
Right.
and I'm like, this is the issue I have. Just because I haven't been a sex addict doesn't mean I can't be part of your support network. You know,
Mm,
I don't need to get re-triggered by this something.
right.
And that's
Right.
why
That's good.
the whole thing goes back to understanding pain. If I understand that the reason you're acting out is because of your pain versus
Right.
trying to treat your addiction is a separate thing. I need individuals who are resourceful. Those are the people I need who
Right.
can say, "Oh, you're dealing with this. Let's put over this." I need people who aren't addicts themselves in my support network.
Yes.
I
Yes.
need
You're
people
absolutely right.
who have integrity. When they said, "Hey, I'm going
Yes.
to be there for you," they're there. Not the ones you call, "Oh, I'm busy right now. Can I call you back in a bit?" No, I'm talking
Right.
about the individuals that have that integrity, who have
Yes.
a level of commitment and trust and dependability. Those are the people that I would want in my support network.
That's good. That's so good. That is so good. You're right. Can we put up Jerron? How you feeling, my brother? Let's put up John Henry Scott's comment again. He says, "Bad communication corrupts good manners." That is so. He says that's just plain old Bible. Come on, come on. But there's so many truths in that. When with bad communication, we're talking about not make your requests be made known. Write the vision, make it and I go back to basics. I tell people, get that pen and paper out. Get that note out on your phone. You got a phone to use it for everything else. You might as well take some notes on it that's going to help push you and help to get you established in the right direction that you're going to. So 4 steps. I love it. So for those of you who joined late, let's review these 4 steps. Run those 4 steps through us one more time for the folks in the balcony who tipped in late, who's trying to sneak in and not give their offering.
Oh my goodness. So step 1, establish or reestablish your relationship with God. Step
Yes.
2, abstain from what you use to escape pain.
Mm-hmm.
Step 3, change your environment, walk away from your triggers. And step 4, create a proper support network.
That is so good. That is so good. Daryl, that's right. Resourcefulness and genuine support are so vital. That is so right, Jerron. It is so vital to our success. And part of that, you're talking about changing your environment. Part of changing your environment is also changing your friends, changing that support group. We got to get rid of the dead weight. We got to get rid of those who are not moving us in the right direction. Too many of us are failing and falling backwards instead of failing forward. In other words,
and that's the thing about when you're in an addiction, you're going to create an environment which supports that addiction. So if you smoke weed,
that's good.
You're going to be around other people that smoke weed.
Right.
If you're overeating carbohydrates and fatty foods that are clogging up your arteries, you're going to be around other people that do that. Now, it's not to say that you can't be around those people forever. Is you need to get to a healthy state. So if you are around them, you can be very strategic. We talked about strategy is, okay, I'm going to be around them when we're not eating food.
Right.
So,
right.
And then when they say, hey, let's go get something, you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm good.
So talk to us real quick. If in your transparency, it's transparent, and thank you again for bringing it. What was what was the most difficult step for you in your own 4-step process, and how did you overcome that step?
I think it goes back to that step 3. Well, a little bit of step 1 and 3. So 1 was because when as a grandson of a Baptist minister. The interpretation of the Bible, and he talked about embedded trauma. It's so long that we accept it as fact. And the blessing came, as I say, when you do the work, God starts giving you openings. So, for instance, I never forget when I was reading Sodom and Gomorrah, and God revealed to me, everybody's treated this as, oh, they went to hell because of homosexuality. Well, when you actually take a step back and look at it, you realize this is not consensual sex. What this is rape. When I had that aha epiphany moment, that then shifted my perspective on it.
The immorality of what was going on. Right.
Correct. So then so that takes care of Old Testament. Then let's look at New Testament. Well, I had someone who's a bishop relay to me, the word really wasn't homosexual in the New Testament. The word was catamite. So understanding a catamite, a man who has sex with a boy, pedophilia, is totally different than consensual sex. So having those understandings, that was a big breakthrough. And then, of course, there's things, God and the gay Christian and all these things. So that was a big step. And as I said, once you reconcile who you are, that helps. Third thing was,
so if I could recap, so what you're saying, as you got a better understanding for yourself and then dealt with and erase your own stereotypes and the things that were holding you in bondage, so that now you have a direct relationship with God for yourself and not depending on someone else. That changed how you viewed yourself, and even got you in a much better relationship with God, asking God now to transform the word and making it real in your life. And therefore you, in other words, what I heard you say was you did the work for yourself.
Yeah, you can't, it all starts with self. We become so self-reliant on other people. And not, as I say, there is an interdependence, which is healthy, but not a sort of dependence. As I say, the codependent sense of relying on other people. So once I got me, that was probably the hardest thing. The second was because I'm an only child, giving up friends who were, as I say, that changing that environment was hard, because these are people that I loved and sometimes still do love, because love is unconditional.
Right.
But you putting me in a situation that's harmful for my growth and progression.
Right.
I have to let that go.
Right.
So letting those people go, it was hard at first, because we hung out all the time, and now even when I see them, I still say, hey, I wish you well, but I know where they are, and I know if I were to start hanging back with them, I would be putting myself in an environment which would then possibly make me say, well,
re-trigger and re-harm
you. That. They're doing it.
That's good. That's good.
As they say, it's a slippery slope. And next thing you know,
Yes.
you back down to where you're realizing, why am I actually doing this? I'm not in pain anymore.
Mm.
It's just become a habit.
And it's returning to that familiar state and making sure that which was once familiar does not return back to your. Since it all starts with self. In other words, listen to your own voice for a change. This is something that my therapist said to me recently. Nick Johnson, thank you, Nick. You got to listen to yourself, because to thy own self be true in that regards, but making sure that you have it something to back that up with you, and making sure that you are living out who you are and becoming and not being afraid of who you are, and taking the time to care for yourself and feed yourself in the right way so that you are healthy.
And one thing I'll say back to Nick is, you noticed your therapist told you, so you had to get insight. So at the same
Support.
time, yeah. So at the same time, we're getting to a point where we can really block out information and look within. We also have to realize all the answers are not within. And sometimes we need some outside influence, but that connection with your spirit will be able then to give you the discernment you need to determine
That's
if the
good.
information someone is imparting on you is actually relevant or it isn't.
And I love that, because as my role as a therapist is to pull the best out of you and
Exactly.
to challenge what we say, the maladaptive thoughts, or the stinking thinking, as I like to
Yes.
say. And I can relate to stinking thinking. Maladaptive, baby, talk to me in terms, everyday terms. Man, you're thinking wrong, and you need to
Right.
change your thought process, because if you continue down this road, you're going to end up in destruction. But we're trying to get you back to the road that's going to give you the life. That's why I love my opening, that I have this song that's called Enjoy Your Life. Be
Mm-hmm.
free, live right. Because too many of us are in bondage and not enjoying the life that we were supposed to live. But that only happens when we definitely do some self-care and reflect
Yes.
on who we are in that regards. Yes, yes. So y'all just hit. Come on, Nick. We appreciate that. We trying, Nick. We trying. And Nick, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing, because we want to erase the negative stigma that Black
All right.
men don't seek help, that Black men don't seek therapy, that Black men don't seek life coaches and support. So Nick, thank you. Thank you. As you think you are become LaDon, my brother, what's going on? I knew you was going to be on here. Listen, that's another brother out in the Michigan area that's holding it
Cool.
down. So yes, LaDon, make sure you get in contact with my brother A.D. Burks here, because he's a blessing, and grab a hold of that book. Think the best things about yourself. That's right. That's right. You got to. That's how we change. But that can only happen is when you, like, I'm going back to your step 3, when you are able to walk away from your triggers and change your environment.
Yep.
You got to change your environment, because as you think, that's what you
So you
become.
are.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
yep, so are you. Yeah, so we got to do that. Listen, you've been talking us Bible and everything. Man, listen, I got to have you back. This has gone by way too fast. Listen, you've been absolutely amazing, man. I appreciate you. Now, Daryl, throw up the book so the people can see that. Listen, we want to make sure y'all go to Amazon. Please go to Amazon and check out 2 of A.D. Burks' books. He says Sex and Surrender, An Addict's Journey, and then also The 4 Steps, A Principal Guide to Breaking the Addictive Cycles. These are both books. We need to support great Black authors, and y'all, these are 2 great books that's going to help you along your journey. My brother A.D. Burks has been so transparent with that. And A.D., talk to us. How else can they follow you and stay connected with you?
Well, everybody's on the gram now, so I am the AHA architect on the Instagram. What I really liked about Instagram is you'll see a lot of videos that are there to help. One of the biggest things we talk about
Yes,
self-care is setting boundaries. And one of
that's
my biggest
good.
videos is proper boundaries. And having those proper boundaries will not only help you get unstuck, but they also create an environment for self-care. Biggest thing a lot of times is we don't have boundaries in place
Right,
to even set up us allowing ourselves to have self-care.
right. That's so good.
So yeah,
And
go to
and we
the AHA
go ahead.
Architect. I'm sorry. Yeah, and then as they put here, I also have a whole nother program for relationships. So you can go to adburks.com and you'll hit tag at the top for relationship fit quiz, and that'll give you, I say, an in-depth quiz looking at the 14 parameters needed for a healthy relationship.
Wow, man, thank you so much. Again, listen, I'm going to definitely have you back since this has been so amazing. I'm getting those books ASAP.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Alana. And then Alana also has a book where she talks about, she has a wonderful children's book where she talks about
cool.
ADHD is my superpower. It is so
Yeah.
amazing. Again, one of those areas where we have mislabeled and misdiagnosed our people in our communities. So,
Definitely.
AD, thank you, man. Much love to you. Much love, man. Again, love the books. Love you walking us through those 4 steps today as a reminder that not only do I matter, but the importance of self-care.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, anytime. Definitely, you're going to be back. You're going to be back.
Yeah, we'll do the whole relationship thing the next time.
Okay, we'll definitely do the relationship thing the next time. Yes. Listen, y'all, thank you so much for joining us today on another edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. I am so honored to have AD Burks on here as he walked us through the 4 steps of the addiction cycle that we have to do. And again, he reminded us, get your relationship right with God, whether that's reestablishing or establishing that. He talked to us about abstaining from those things that trigger you. He talked about in the 3rd step, making sure that you definitely change your environment by walking away from your triggers. And then he definitely closed us out with saying that we have to establish a support network that's going to be there to help us through these times of change. I am so glad. Listen, there's so many programs you could have listened to, but I'm so glad that you chose this one. I invite you to check out our website at www.mentalhealthmarty.com. There you will find some exciting merchandise to support you along your mental health journey so that you can stop the stinking thinking. Also, for those of you, please also listen to our podcast. You can't miss it, Mental Health Matters with Marty. And please, if you are an Apple listener, please give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review. And become an iMatter member of Mental Health Matters with Marty by texting iMatter to 855-717-1272. Again, thank you so much for joining us in this journey called life. Too many of us are secretly suffering in the shadow of shame. But I am here to help to eradicate the negative stigma behind mental health, especially that July is Mental Health Awareness Month for minorities and people of color. We can stop the stinking thinking. How do we do that? By speaking up, speaking out, and learning how to live. But more importantly, by enjoying your best life. See you next time.